Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor. I hope all of you are doing well and are staying safe. It's super exciting to spot a tiny green bump peeking out at the base of your Phalaenopsis orchid plant. But is it a new aerial root growing in, or finally that flower spike that all of us home gardeners were so long together is going to put that abundant amount of flower blooms for us? In Phalaenopsis orchids, both aerial roots and flower spikes start out as these tiny little green growths. So sometimes it's very tricky to tell the difference between an aerial root and a flower spike, especially if you're a beginner house plant lover. So in today's video, I'm going to give you step-by-step instructions how you, my fellow home gardeners, can easily tell the difference between an aerial root and a flower spike on your Phalaenopsis orchids. So for those of you looking for the online gardening channel, which offers tips, tricks, easy yet proven gardening advice to take your home garden to that next level, please don't go anywhere, guys. Stick around with me today. Start with going below this video and clicking the subscribe button. If you click the bell icon below as well, YouTube will send you notifications each time I'll upload a new video. Now come with me and let's get gardening. Phalaenopsis orchids, which we typically purchase at a garden center, plant nursery, even in big box stores, have all been genetically manipulated to put on multiple flower spikes, as you could see right over here on this orchid, and an abundant amount of beautiful, bright flower blooms. The amount of flower spikes, hence the blooms, is directly induced by the drop of roughly 7 to 10 degrees during the nighttime hours. So a combination of warmer air temperatures during the day hours and a drop in air temperatures during the night hours, and again roughly by 7 to 10 degree drop, is what helps induce and force our Phalaenopsis orchids to shoot out new flower spikes, hence produce an abundant amount of blooms. But air temperature drop is not all that it takes to put on new flower spikes on a Phalaenopsis orchid. It's also the genetics. It's also how often, how well you water your orchids, adequate fertilization, also the genetics of your orchid plant as well. Now let's get closer into talking about the difference between new set of aerial roots versus new development of flower spikes in your Phalaenopsis orchid. As you could see for yourself, guys, I have quite a few Phalaenopsis orchids growing in my home, in my green room. Some are done blooming. Some are in full, beautiful bloom, like this stunner right over here. Can't get enough of the variegation on the coloring of the blooms. And some are getting ready to open up their flower buds and bloom for me, like this orchid right over here. And take a look, guys, for yourself. This specific orchid has put on not one, not two, but 3 distinctly different and separate flower spikes for me. Some are getting ready to open up and bloom, and some flower buds are still actively growing, trying to reach their mature size in order to open up and bloom for me. For those of you who are interested in how I help my Phalaenopsis orchids put on multiple flower spikes, hence an abundant amount of flower blooms, I have a separate video on my gardening channel, Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor, where I tell you step by step what you can do to help your Phalaenopsis orchid put on multiple flower spikes each year, hence an abundant amount of beautiful, bright flower blooms. Let's start out with talking about new root development on our Phalaenopsis orchid. The root that Phalaenopsis orchid has are actually aerial roots, which means that they absorb the moisture and the nitrogen from the air. So when the new air roots develop, they start out as these tiny little green bumps that are grayish, whitish in color, forming from the base of the leaves towards the potting mix or your bark. Towards the end of the winter season, you're going to start noticing your Phalaenopsis orchids put on new active growth, whether it's forming new roots at the base of the plant or put on new flower spikes. Let's start with talking about the root system of the Phalaenopsis orchids. Phalaenopsis orchids have an aerial root system. What does that mean? That means that they use their roots to get all of the moisture content and nitrogen in through the air. So the new aerial roots start out as these tiny little green bumps or nodes at the base or the bottom of the leaves of your orchid. As these bumps or nodes start to grow, continue to grow, they're going to change their color from bright green to more gray or even blue tint in color. The majority of the root will remain this light gray color, but the tip, the very edge of the aerial root will have a rounded shape and will remain bright green in color. So anything growing at the base or the bottom of the leaves, stemming from the main stem of your orchid plant that has grayish coloration and that bright green tip at the very end with a rounder shape, that is a new aerial root developing. Phalaenopsis orchids have a sticky epidural tissue throughout all of the aerial roots. This epidural sticky tissue is actually called the velamen. It's what gives this gray, blue, green coloration on the aerial roots. Velamen is also what helps our Phalaenopsis orchids absorb all of the moisture as well as the needed, necessary nitrogen content from the air. In natural environments, Phalaenopsis orchids grow on top of bark or within the rock crevices. And the velamen, which is the sticky epidural substance, is what helps orchids stick onto that bark or even stone surface. If your Phalaenopsis orchid is healthy and happy, when it gets adequate watering, adequate fertilization, and bright yet indirect sunlight exposure, the aerial roots of your Phalaenopsis orchid should be rounded, firm, and plump. Now, when you water your Phalaenopsis orchid, as the aerial roots are absorbing the water content, the moisture, don't be surprised if you see that the aerial roots will start to change color temporarily from this off-white grayish pigmentation, hence the velamen, to bright green color. As the roots are done absorbing all of the moisture that can possibly absorb within themselves, the coloring of the aerial roots will change back to its normal, healthy, bluish gray coloration. Now let's move on and let's talk about what you should expect to see when your Phalaenopsis orchid does indeed put on new flower spikes. Regardless of the orchid variety that you're growing in your home, majority of the orchids do form their flower spikes in the middle or between the leaves, which is what you're seeing right over here. You could see the new flower spike growing at this beautiful Phalaenopsis orchid versus the new area roots, which remember grow at the base or the very bottom below the leaves, which is what you're seeing right over here. Let's talk about the color difference, and there is a very distinct color difference. Again, in the very beginning, both of the nodes or the little bumps will be bright green in color. Be patient, let them grow. As the days and weeks progress, you're going to start noticing the difference in the color. Again, the aerial roots will start to turn their color to this blue-gray pigmentation. So development will start to develop and the roots will start to turn this gray-blue color versus a new flower spike. Flower spikes never become blue-gray in color. The entire flower spike will be bright green, which is what you're seeing right over here. And the edge or the very tip of the flower spike will not be glossy green and rounded like what we saw on a new aerial root. The very tip of the flower spike is actually something called mitten shaped. And again, guys, from the beginning of the development of the flower spike to finally beautiful, gorgeous orchid blooms, it takes roughly 2 to 3 months. Flower spike has to form, grow to its maximum height, start putting on new flower buds. Those buds have to grow to their maximum capacity, start opening up and then forming the blooms. So again, remember, always look at where the green nodes are forming. Base of the leaves or the very bottom towards the growing medium or between the leaves. Also, as the days progress, pay very careful attention to the coloring of the growth. If the coloring is blue-gray in color, then you're looking at the new aerial roots. If the color stays bright green or even dark green in its entirety, then you're looking at new flower spikes. This is it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for joining me here today in my home garden in Long Island, New York, gardening zone 7A. In today's video, we spoke about how you, my fellow home gardeners, can distinguish between new aerial root growth versus new flower spike growth on your Phalaenopsis orchids. For those of you who found this video to be interesting, useful, informative, in absolutely any way, don't be shy, guys. Show me that support by clicking thumbs up below. Don't forget to leave your beautiful, friendly, positive comments in the comment section below as well. I take the time to read each and every single one of your comments and I respond to each and every single one of you. Let me know what kind of orchids do you grow in your beautiful warm homes. Share some pictures with me. I would love to see what your homes and your home gardens look like. For those of you who haven't yet subscribed to my garden channel, Gardening Cold Spring Harbor, please do not wait any longer. Do so today by going below this video and clicking the subscribe button. If you click the bell icon below as well, YouTube will send you notifications each time I'll upload a new video. Stay healthy, happy, be well, each and every single one of you guys, and happy gardening. And I'll see you again in my new upcoming videos. Bye, guys.